This episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast is brought to you in partnership with ministryleague.com. We would love for more people to discover this show, so please rate and review us on iTunes or your podcast provider. Feel free to share on your social media and subscribe at benandtravis.com for the free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis, the Ask Lonnie Jones Anything edition, I believe, number 4. Super, always awesome, excited. I can't throw out enough words to describe just how great it is to get to hang out with Lonnie Jones, Ben Hayes, and Will Myhan. Just love any time we get to be together and have this opportunity to, of course, throw questions at Lonnie and see what sticks. It's great fellowship of some of my favorite Christian, my brothers. And unfortunately, there's a bunch off air that we can't necessarily share with everyone. So to you. But you do get some great stuff, and I'm ready to jump right back in. Lonnie is, as we spoke in our last episode, he is the chaplain for the Huntsville SWAT team. He leads another SWAT team, Skits with a Truth, that Ben Hayes and I both get to be a part of and get to show off our super goofiness of fun times. What's that, Ben?
On your shirt.
Yeah,
on the SWAT team on your shirt.
That's about as serious as you will ever see us. Posing. Yeah. So it's good to be back with you, Lonnie. You doing okay tonight?
I'm doing really good and couldn't be better to be hanging out with you guys. This is cool.
Will, Ben, you guys doing all right?
Rocking it out. This is the St. Jude Marathon week. Even though we're not going to be in Memphis, I'm running the half marathon virtually. Will is running the full marathon virtually. And so just a little plug there, that we're doing this to raise money for St. Jude. We did that last time kind of in honor of my son and a kid that goes to Highland Park here named Houston. So Cypress and Houston runners. And we got a couple other guys, one of the other SWAT guys, Michael Rosenblum, and just a couple others that are running with us. And we're just super excited about doing that. So even though when you hear this, the race will have already been run, you can still donate to that. So, and we just encourage you guys to donate to St. Jude anytime, because the work that they're doing there is amazing. And so I don't run because I'm fast. I run to finish and to fundraise, and to have fun with my friends. And that's about it. I don't try to be too fast about it. So, but that's about all that's going on in our lives.
Will, what are you running this weekend?
So I'm doing the marathon. I think I'm actually going to have to do mine probably middle of this week, because I've got to go speak this weekend when Ben's running his. But that kind of, if you are cool with it, I'm going to ask Lonnie my question here, because it kind of goes straight with the marathon training, half marathon training, especially. I'm going to do mine around a track. And so I'm going to go 26.2 miles running around the track in a circle. And Ben and several others have said how stupid that is. But a lot of people have said, to run, you got to have mental toughness, especially when Ben and I were running it last year. It's pretty easy when you got 30,000 people cheering you on the whole way. But doing it by yourself, it's a whole different ballgame. So Lonnie, my question revolves around mental toughness. I think a lot of people would consider you someone that is tough. You tend to display that by some of the surgeries that you've gone through, climbing with the SWAT team and everything. But how does someone develop more mental toughness? Because I believe mental toughness is also a part of our spiritual life as well.
I think it boils down to probably an Abraham Lincoln quote that I first heard from Carlson Gracie. And it involves the concepts of emotional intelligence, understanding your emotions. Emotions lead to self-regulation. Self-regulation involves delayed gratification, impulse control, and motivation. Motivation involves resilience. And it really boils down to making a choice between what do I want most and what do I want now. And in any situation that you're in, You have a now choice and a what do I want most choice. And then I think it boils down to an academic decision. This is what I will strive for, because the easy temporary thing is what I want right now. But resilience and or toughness or whatever is what do I want most. And so, Hebrews 12:2, looking to Jesus, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despised the shame. That's mental toughness, and is now seated at the right hand of God. So I think it boils down to just a simple thing of always remembering, what am I trying to accomplish? What is my most? And then am I going to trade my most for this now thing? And that's purity, that's finances, that's Christianity, that's honesty, that's integrity, and not compromising and giving up the thing that you want most for some temporary, simple, what do I want right now?
Good stuff.
And that's as a football coach, I see less and less of that, the ability to, put off, delay gratification. And it's so easy today to get things immediately. And when we don't get it immediately, last week we're playing in the championship game, and unfortunately our offensive coordinator was quarantined, and his son, who was our starting outside linebacker, was quarantined as well. And so I had to call plays for the first time in a couple of years. And I kind of created this formation for, the second half, so they didn't have time to adjust. Well, we're picking up 5-6 yards a carry on it. And, I've got these guys coming over, coach, it's not working. It's not working. I said, well, listen, we're up by 3 touchdowns. The scoreboard is not our enemy. The clock is our enemy. So 5 yards a pop, 3 yards, really 3.5. You get 3.5 3 times, it's a first down, and we're wanting to hold on to the ball. So, even those guys that have learned kind of the mental toughness and been through the paces, sometimes it's hard to be patient and to kind of get what God wants us to have, or what we need when God wants us to have it. It's kind of those things.
Read Angela Duckworth's book, Grit. It's a book about resilience and why people finish or don't finish. And there's a pretty good little test in there called the grit scale. And it's basically, how many things have you started and you finished, and it gives you a grit score. And it's she used it as a predictive instrument for who would finish West Point. It's a really interesting study. Angela Duckworth, and I think it's just entitled Grit.
I know last year when I was running one of the getting ready for the marathon, the half marathon for me, I was listening to a lot of times the book Lone Survivor. And so, listening to that and putting into perspective what he went through, a lot of that's about his training, and then into, what happened to him in the field. There was a lot of nights I was wanting to quit, and I'm like, look, if he can do all that, maybe I can keep running.
I'm not a marathoner, but when I started being able to hang out with SWAT, I'm not a runner. I'm not built to run. And so the first night I ever met those guys, they invited me to run with them. A guy goes, "You going to run with us, Reverend?" And I was wearing khaki pants, Rockport shoes, and a button-down shirt. I took my shirt off and ran in Rockports and khakis. And of course, I didn't make the whole run. They ran me in the ground. But the next week that I showed up, they said, "Well, you're going to run with us again." And so I made a choice that if I dropped out on a run, I could slow down. But if I stopped and walked, when I got back to the training compound, I threw those shoes away. It didn't matter how old they were, didn't matter how much they were. If I stopped on a run, I took them off my feet and threw them over the fence. You don't do that very often with a pair of Nike accelerators. You quit stopping on runs. I'm just saying. And that was in 92. And I just finished a little 5K, kind of a personal thing last week before I left for Arkansas. And, I'm not breaking any land speed records, but, just deciding if I quit, this is my consequence. If I don't quit, I don't have that consequence, and make a deal with yourself. And that's the thing on, I guess, personal integrity as well as toughness. I don't know.
All right, Lonnie. Do you, and are you a fan of pineapple on your pizza?
Absolutely. Pineapple on chicken, pineapple on pizza, pineapple just by itself. I like pineapple.
When I was in the
For
hospital,
the record, pineapple.
Go ahead, Ben.
No, I was going to say, for the record, pineapple and Canadian bacon or ham is phenomenal. I don't know the people who say it's not. I don't know what's wrong with them.
I had a buddy who brought me a pineapple when I was in the hospital, a full pineapple, like the skin, all of it. We had no way of peeling that thing, but he did. He knew I liked pineapple. So yes, I am a pineapple on pizza. Will?
Oh yeah, 100%. Sign me up for it.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had the pineapple hamburger on a hamburger? Pineapple on a hamburger.
Solid.
Red Robin?
Yeah, I'd do it.
Okay, so pineapple by itself, salt or no salt?
No salt.
I've never had any salt.
Yeah, I mean, I would try it, but
Salt your pineapple, change your life.
now I like salt on watermelons and apples and just about everything else. So I could see where that'd be good.
Salt on a pineapple, man, that's good. And then you get it in that juice, and it's like drinking God's Gatorade. It's good stuff.
Gooder than snuff and not half as dusty.
Exactly.
Change your life.
Sets them taste buds on fire.
All right, Benjamin.
All right, so I think I know the answer to this question. I've heard some stories through the years, but I know one of my favorite personal hunts that I've ever been on was with you, and one of the pronghorns that we killed on that trip is behind you on the wall. The one that I killed is on the opposite wall from me. And so we had a great time with Shane and Pickle and Paul, and it was just a really great trip. But I was wanting to know what is, and let our listeners know some details about your favorite climb, because we hear you talk about ropes and all sorts of stuff. Tell us about that.
You got to understand about my climbing. If my climbing was a football team, I would be a Division III West Coast team. Okay, I'm not a good climber, but I enjoy climbing. If I had the requisite abilities that go with my knowledge, I'd be a pretty good climber. So when I started climbing, it was all power climbing, inside corners, chimneys. You get into a crack system, and instead of doing the placing your palms in and doing the real pretty stuff, you grab the crack like this and pull out. That's called a Gaston. So I learned to climb without special shoes and just doing what I call power climbing. As I changed my style, a guy in North Carolina when I was 30 had me climb a route blindfolded. And it changed me from a power climber using just my arms to learning how to dance with the rock and let the rock. Lynn Hill said, "You do not conquer that which is your partner." When you climb a rock, you're not fighting the rock, you're dancing with the rock. It's telling you how to climb it. And one of the best, most enjoyable climbs I ever had was Troy and I got to climb in Yosemite. And we were climbing, and I don't know, I think it was, we did 6 or 8 pitches, which is the length of a rope. We hired a guide. So this guy would do the route, and then Troy would go behind him, and then I would come behind them and clean the route. And it was just such beautiful scenery. I was with Troy. It was a year outside of my surgeries. And if you see those pictures, I'm still out of shape. I'm huge. I'm heavy. I don't look well. But we were climbing in Yosemite, man. And that rock out there is just sticky. It's that granite rock. And I caught myself about 500 feet off the ground, climbing and humming this Devo song that I didn't really know the words to, but I was just so at peace because I was thinking of nothing else but climbing. And being out there with Troy is probably one of my very favorite climbs in the world.
That's awesome. So what's the Devo song? Do you remember it now?
I could, if I thought about it, I think it's "Light of the World, You Step Down into Darkness."
It's a good one.
That would be a good one on top of a rock like that, I would assume.
I remember there was this slab, and if you put your hand underneath it and then wedged your elbow, it would give you a brace and you could pull up with it. And so this hand was wedging the slab, and I was just frictioning with this hand. And I wasn't having to think about it. I was just doing it and just humming this random song. It was a beautiful fall day, and the sky was pristine blue, and it was just cool. And I was just, I thought when they gave me that bag that I had climbed my last rock, I'd climbed my last tree, I'd rolled my last round in judo or jujitsu, and to be out there on that rock was, I thought I'd probably climbed my last time, because they said they didn't know if the bag would be permanent or temporary. And so I was wrapping my mind around the fact that you're a sedentary person. My exercise for a year had been walking and shooting a child's bow at trash in the yard. And that's been a significant pace change for me, by the way.
Well, little known fact here is that when Lonnie and I first met, I was pretty horrified of heights. I probably wasn't like somebody who would just, become, just a statue in that scenario, but I didn't like him. He taught me how to climb a tree climber, so I could hunt from a tree stand that I climbed myself. And then I've climbed a few rock walls or at least one on his property. I've climbed some other places since then, and done some other things. A swing got me riding roller coasters. So some of the stuff that I really wasn't a fan of before meeting Lonnie, of course, some of those Jedi powers as a counselor he's got probably helped me with some of that stuff too.
No, you decided that you wanted to be able to do some things with your son.
That's true.
This is what I want
That
most,
helps.
not what I want now. And you decided to do this for Jackson. I remember that.
Yeah.
So, Lonnie, what part of Yosemite were you in? I was in Yosemite a couple of years ago, and so I was just kind of curious.
We were in the Yosemite Valley, and we went. Every one of our pictures of the climb, the second day climb, you can see the nose of El Cap off of my left shoulder in every one of those pictures. So we weren't on the El Capitan buttress, but we were like on the right shoulder. We climbed a real easy route called After Six. We did a crack system. I don't remember the name of it. And then we climbed a super, super easy route called Munganello. And there, like I say, a rock ladder, nothing impressive except the fact that it was pretty high for a couple of old Southern boys. But so if you looked at El Cap and looked to the right, there's some slabs there that we climbed. And a couple of the things we climbed were pretty vertical. Some of them were low angle, but it was really, really cool.
Yeah, after standing at the base of El Cap and kind of walking out in there, Free Solo just gives me, the movie gives me some major anxiety after standing at the base of that place.
I knew he made that climb. I kind of follow Alex's career, and I was sweating while watching it. Of course, I was in Colorado the first time I climbed in the Rockies. And of course, I've been climbing. I've even done some guiding. And so I hired this guy from Rocky Mountain Mountaineering School. And we go out here and we walk in, and so we start climbing. And the first part of the climb, I think this was 4 or 5 pitches. It was a multi-pitch climb. In this, so here I'm thinking, here you are, you're a pocket climber. You're in this guy's back pocket and you're climbing this rock. You're a tourist. So we get up on this thing. He said, now there's a hand ledge that you got to go out. He said, then when you get to the edge of that hand ledge, you got to move up, and it requires a move called a lie back. And he said, can you lie back? I said, yeah, I can lie back. I did a 75-foot lie back in the New River Gorge. And it's, you got 2 opposing walls, and you put your hands in the crack and put your feet on the opposite wall. You push with your legs and pull with your hands, and you lean in, and you just move your feet up, move your hands up. It's a monster move, and a little short guy like me can do it. So I thought, yeah, I can lie back. So this guy takes off, and he's at the end of the rope. We can't hear because of the wind. So 3 sharp tugs. I give 3 sharp tugs. He tugs back, and I move out. Well, I get to this slab, and instead of it being against the rock like this, it's against the rock like this. So I've got to reach inside it, put my feet on it, and then lie back. And I'm 600 feet above the valley, lying back over this thing. So, I did probably 7 or 8 lie back moves, and you're just hanging out and you just watch the world fall away. Well, I get on top of this thing and I go, okay, so you may not be a tourist. You may not be a pocket climber. You might quite possibly be the man. And this kid in gym shorts and a chalk bag cruises past me, free solo in the same route. He like, stop it. How's it going, dude? And he crawls on past me. So I get to the top of the pitch and I go, some dude just free soloed past me. He goes, oh yeah, that's Chris. He lives out here. He climbs this every day before school. So talk about humility, man.
What? I mean, watching that, I remember the first, and I've watched free solo, I think 3 or 4 times just because I enjoy it and being out there. But I remember the first time I watched it, I looked down and I was gripping the couch and I just white knuckled, all of my hands.
Listen, Mr. Gravity never sleeps.
Mm-mm.
And I've arrested a couple of dynamic falls from people. And you fall from a height that past 1,000 feet, they don't recover bodies, they recover parts.
Yeah.
The human body comes apart after stuff like that.
Okay.
And they could have filmed this kid dying. I mean, it was possible to.
Well, even those guys that were filming it, they were looking away. They're like, when you get to those certain points and they had that camera zoomed on him, they would turn their backs on the camera. I'm not watching it. And then when he would make it, they'd start looking again.
Wasp, misplaced object that falls off the top of that thing, an angry falcon, a rude bat. There's a lot of things can ruin your day up there that you have zero control over. Don't care how good a climber you are. There's some things that you can't manage. If a piece of rock can break with you, it's yeah.
What's the concept that you talk about, the intersection between the internals and the externals? It's a really great thought that might go here.
Internal hazards and you have external hazards. And when the internal hazards have an intersection with the external hazards, you have a death. James chapter 1, we're tempted by the things that we want. And when we fulfill the desires for those temptations, then it brings forth death. Internal hazard, what I want. External hazard, the opportunity to sin. The same thing happens climbing, same thing happens flying.
Great stuff. I could sit and listen to that all day, especially standing there. But had a question that was sent to me. Your favorite scripture as a child versus your favorite scripture now as an adult and in the season of life that you're in now.
My favorite scripture as a child was Hebrews, I think 13:6. The Lord is my helper. And I boldly say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear what man will do to me. Had some very personal references to having backup in your life. And the ultimate backup was the Lord. I guess as a kid, that would have been my favorite. And I guess my overall favorite scripture is Romans 4:17. God gives life to the dead and calls things that are not as though they were. Literally calls things not being as being. God takes the weak and calls us strong. God takes the lost and calls us saved. God takes sinners and calls us saints. And God never looks at our present. He looks at our potential. And I guess that's been a long-time favorite verse of mine, that God is judging me on a way different scale than I would judge myself or that other people would judge me.
It's good stuff.
So we have a friend that we also have a text group with. We got a bunch of text groups. We got some with Lonnie. We got one with this fella, and he's getting married in April. And he asked us to ask you if you have some non-cliche or I guess traditional advice that other people always give, practical advice for this couple, this wedded couple to be this spring.
Okay, so it's a cheesy Lonnie Jones hand motion. Everybody's familiar with this?
Mm-hmm.
That's my symbol for cognitive dissonance. I can handle this. I can handle this. I don't tolerate this. This is your marriage. Turn it from this to this. It's called attunement. When you let your spouse know that I understand your world. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to think it's rational. I don't even have to think it's reasonable. But if I can demonstrate to my spouse that I'm willing to stand in your perspective and not look at you eye to eye, but stand beside you and see your world and then address it from your viewpoint, then you're being selfless And the marker for trust is selfishness or the lack thereof. And when I behave selflessly, you will instinctively trust me. When I behave selfishly, you instinctively won't trust me. And so when you start putting her needs above your rights, you'll fundamentally change the dynamic of every relationship you've ever been in.
Good stuff.
There you go, our friend. That would be some good advice for a lot of marriages that I've been associated with through counseling and everything else, learning to look at that same perspective. And
I think it's Ben Hayes that said, love is not staring longingly into a person's eyes, but standing shoulder to shoulder with them in a foxhole and looking out at the same danger.
Yeah, I was trying to remember who it was. It didn't come from me, but I had found that.
So you get credit for it.
But I had read that somewhere, and I thought that was a pretty awesome quote too. So shared it with Lonnie somewhere along the way. So.
John Gottman calls it attunement. Courtney Armstrong calls it alignment. I think in de-escalation training, we call it building rapport. So you have active listening. Active listening leads to empathy. Empathy builds rapport. Rapport builds influence. Influence, you can create behavioral change. We call that the behavioral change staircase. Mark Goldston in his book, Just Listen, and also FBI hostage negotiation.
That's a good book too, by the way. Well, the book, not that one, but what's the other one that he wrote?
Talking to Crazy.
No,
That's a good book too.
Never Split the Difference. I think it may not be the same guy.
That's a different guy. Yeah.
Different guy. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was on he was a hostage negotiator too. So pretty good stuff. So whose turn is it?
It's yours, Ben.
Is it mine? Okay. Well, so for mine would be, what is your favorite? This was another one that somebody sent in. What's your favorite movie quote? I know you got some good ones. I've heard you, but.
Seriously, of all time, Jack Horn is a minor character in the modern version of the Magnificent Seven. And Jack Horn says, to be in the service of others with men that I respect, like you all, I shouldn't have to ask for more than that.
That's a good one.
Jack Horn, the Magnificent Seven.
That's a good one. And I agree with those sentiments as well. So
that includes you guys, that includes Troy, that includes the drama troupe SWAT, and that includes the operators called SWAT. And that pretty much sums up my life. To be in service of others with men like yourselves that I respect, I shouldn't have to ask for anything more than that.
That is good stuff.
I'm going to throw in one more question, if that's all right with everybody, and then I'll swing it back through and wrap up our time together. As sad as that is, there must always be an end. But my question to wrap it up, and I may have just lost it, but if there was, and this is a time traveling question, or maybe just a misplaced, if you could go back to any era in time, and this may be easy, maybe a simple shut, closed, what era would you go back to? Like if you've ever thought, man, I grew up in the wrong time frame, or, whether it's music makes you think that. There's sometimes where I'm like, man, the music at this time, man, was just so, you could go see Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley, and those guys play a show in a gymnasium for like 25 cents, like that's crazy. Has there ever been the time that maybe that crossed your brain of, man, it would have been really sweet to live then?
If I could just go back, I'd just go back to when Lonnie Beth was 5 or 6. Was my little shadow and wanted to be everywhere I was and do everything I did. And I'd just do some more of that. I'd rather chase her down a hill on a snowboard than climb any rock that's out there. I'd rather sit in the backyard with her and shoot a BB gun at pine cones and hunt any elk that walked on the Colorado mountains. I just go back to her childhood again because I had a really, really good time with that. By the way, in doing my podcast, I found every article I ever wrote about her, from finding out we were pregnant to walking her down the aisle. And I'm going to launch that as one series called the Dad Files. And they're probably 3 minutes each, but it's just my observations from being a young dad. And probably the greatest adventure I've ever had, other than just being married to Jackie, is having that little girl to call me daddy.
Well, folks, that's a great transition because I'm going to jump off of here and I'm going to go lay down with my kiddos because they're all about that age. So I'm definitely going to take advantage of that. Obviously, we want you to check out the Keeping Up with Jones podcast. You can do that by simply going to benandtravis.com/friends. Go back down to the middle of the page. You can click the picture there. It'll take you straight there. You can hear all those wonderful episodes. They're quick hitters. They're a great way to start your day. As I've mentioned in the other episode that we just did, my Tuesday is listen to our show, make sure there's no big issues that I got to go fix, which I've had to do. And then I flip over and it's Keeping Up with Jones. And it's an adventure to keep up with Jones. I've just been tremendously blessed by you, from just knowing you as a speaker at CYC to the sitting in the crowd and going, man, it would be totally awesome to be part of Skits with the Truth, loading up in a van and getting recruited to now getting to sit here and just shoot the breeze with you, brother.
X-Man.
Yeah.
I'm still on my phone, by the way. You're listed under X-Man Travis Creasy.
There you go. I'll take it. I'll take as close as I'll ever be to Wolverine. Ben, Will, y'all got anything else?
Such an awesome experience, Lonnie. Thank you for sharing those stories. So many good things. And I can't wait till the next time we get to pick your brain on an Ask Lonnie Jones Anything, because it is
anytime. Thank you guys for letting me be a
fun.
part of your lives. I love you. I'm proud of you, what you do, and who you are.
December 7th, 1941 is a day that our grandparents and great-grandparents might recall vividly. Thousands of brave individuals answered the call to enlist and serve their country. Those back home waited and also served by providing essential support.
Since then, veterans have served in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Desert Storm, Operation Enduring Freedom, and the current ongoing global military operations. It's no surprise that our veterans have paid a huge price for the freedoms that we cherish. Serenity Counseling is honored to serve those who have served through their Renewed Warriors program.
If you are a veteran who struggles with post-traumatic stress, or maybe you love a veteran who is struggling with post-traumatic stress, it can often be hard to talk about. Drug therapy can often feel like a Band-Aid.
This program, the Renewed Warriors program, is free. Renewed Spirits is currently recruiting veterans for their equine assisted support group, working with horses outside in the open air. Give them a call or check out their website for more information and to be a part of this group. They'll let you know the details. All you have to do is report for duty. The horses are very good at helping, but you have to be in their presence for it to work.
Give the counselors at Serenity Counseling a call, 256-263-6367, or at their website, serenitycounselingshoals.org.
Serenity Counseling is located at 1954 Jackson Road in Florence, Alabama.
Serenity Counseling, where hope is given and healing begins.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.